Renu ma'am is a senior banking professional with more than 30 years of experience in credit and compliance. Mr. Renu Jain ma'am joined Punjab National Bank in 1986 as a probationary officer after completing her post-graduation in rural management from IRMA. During her 30 plus years career, she held various roles in banking operations, credit inspection, and administration across India. She also served as a faculty member at PNB's training colleges in Belapur and Delhi for over 5 years, focusing on credit training and onboarding new recruits. She retired as Assistant General Manager and holds CIIB certification, a recipient of awards for academic excellence.
So friends, today I'm taking this session on KYC AML regulations basically around the world. We'll be discussing about what has been happening around the world and why these regulations came, they came into existence. So, long back when the banking was not so regulated, at that time we were not really bothered about who is the customer and who wants to open an account with us. We were just happy with doing the banking business. In fact, in those days in 1986, when I joined the bank, in fact, we used to have a lot of people coming and opening accounts in the names of their, children, grandchildren, and maybe existing or non-existing. Like Benami accounts used to abound at that time. But later on, it all started with US, where in 1970, they established this Banking Secrecy Act. US was one of the first nations to make this act. It came into existence. Basically, it was created, it was enacted due to the very reason that lot of money laundering was, going on in US, starting from it must have been from previous times only, but basically when there was prohibition in 1920s in the United States, at that time, lot of money people who were dealing in alcohol, they were, because it was prohibited, they would disguise the sales as some other income. And we have all heard of the name Al Capone. So he was the mastermind behind this money laundering in Chicago. So this actually, they say, though might not be the case, because money laundering is also it means that you are converting black into white, you are cleaning the money. But it says that the term originated basically from Al Capone only. Because what he did, he set up those washing machines, laundromats you find in US all over. He set up lot of them in the city to disguise the origin of money which he was getting from the sales of alcohol. So to make it genuine that he's making the income is coming from the laundromats, he would uh, uh, set up the laundromats and the sales would be disguised as alcohol. Actually, they would be the alcohol sales. So all the profits which he was getting would be introduced back into the financial system as a white. So this is how it was, the money was being laundered by alcohol sales. But subsequently, that the drug trade became enormous and it became even bigger source of money laundering. So I think all of us have seen Godfather, how the drug lords operate. And it was very difficult for government banks to identify the source of income. So this act was enacted in 1970, and subsequently lots of improvements were done on this, because even though that act came into existence, money laundering itself was not an offense that they could treat it as a federal crime. So this act came about, Money Laundering Control Act in 1986, and subsequently this FinCEN, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Agency, was created in 1990 for enforcement of these laws in a proper manner. So all these things were happening in US, and lot of more acts like this Anuzio Wiley Anti-Money Laundering Act was enacted in 1992 to strengthen the provisions of the earlier acts. In fact, Al Capone, he was never arrested for money laundering. He was arrested for tax evasion only. So the persons, even if they were arrested, they could make use of their dirty money after getting out from the jail. So a lot of changes were brought about so that this was, there should be a deterrent for money laundering activities. In 2001, after the terror attacks on the World Trade Center, September 11, the US government took extra steps. You know that terrorism is basically financed through dirty money. Like they need money for that. How do they get that money? That is also a question mark. So they came up with this USA Patriot Act, and this was to further strengthen and expand the measures which were being taken through the Banking Secrecy Act, and also to strengthen the programs, anti-money laundering programs, and make better policies and procedures. So this was what happened in USA. But the money laundering does not affect just one country. It is mostly across the countries. So G7, the group of 7 developed countries, they came together in 1989 to examine and develop measures to combat money laundering. Later on, European Commission and more countries joined them. And this FATF, which is still existing, they were given responsibility to examine money laundering techniques and trends, because the fraudsters, obviously, they have a lot of brains, and sometimes misguided people join them. And they had to examine what techniques they could use, what trends could evolve at national and international level, and what measures could be taken to arrest this. In 2001, after the terror attacks, they included this terrorist financing also, counter terrorist financing, we say CFT. So FATF came out with 40 important recommendations, and these recommendations are the basis on which all countries which are members of FATF now, they should meet this objective of tackling money laundering. I think in earlier sessions, Mr. Singh, I think he discussed how if the FATF recommendations are not followed, or they are not complied with, then FATF can even put the countries on the grey list and subsequently on the blacklist. So FATF recommendations are very strong, and it calls upon all countries to implement these measures in their national system through their national bodies, like in our country, RBI, SEBI, etc. So, like I said, if they fail to comply, then they risk being placed in the grey list or blacklist, which leads to their sanctions, economic sanctions, and other problems. So FATF is making a lot of effort in giving direction to the countries so that the criminals cannot exploit weak financial systems. So a lot of effort is going on in this direction. In India, we have to follow these guidelines. We have to comply with the guidelines, not just for, stopping the money laundering, but also about maintaining economic credibility of our country in the global market, because mostly you will see that fraudsters target weak countries with weak controls, weak compliances for laundering the black money. So FATF, as the financial crimes are evolving, we'll discuss further in this session. FATF also need to evolve and change their tactics. So main recommendations, we all know, you are all bankers, so you are aware, but for the sake of this session, we will go through them. Customer due diligence. Customer due diligence and know your customer KYC requirements. These are foremost, I think, nowadays. For each and everything, we follow this, especially bankers. We have to be very particular about these KYC requirements. I think in other sessions, it will be covered what are the requirements, what are the documents. I'll not be discussing going into all those things. But customer due diligence and KYC requirements were their recommendations. Beneficial ownership. You understand what is beneficial ownership? That is, who is if the account is opened in somebody's name, then who is the ultimate owner, a person who will benefit from that particular account, transactions in that account. So beneficial ownership transparency to prevent criminals from hiding behind fake companies. Suspicious transactions report to detect money laundering activities. This is a very strong recommendation, and many a times this has helped in containing frauds or stopping frauds. Cross-border cooperation to prevent international financial crimes. These were their main recommendations, which all the banks have to follow. All the countries have to follow, and all the countries, in all the countries, the various organizations, financial, non-financial, they have to abide by. Now, in case the compliances are lacking, there has been money laundering through an account of some bank, then FATF also recommends penalties. And I have just noted down here some of the banks which were penalized on recommendations of FATF. These are the banks, you can read them: BNP Paribas, HSBC, Danske Bank, UBS, Deutsche Bank, Standard Chartered, Credit Suisse. All these international banks have been penalized at one time or the other for lax controls in monitoring the opening and transactions in the accounts. So now you might think, even I thought when I was making this presentation, what happens to these penalties? Where does it go? Can anybody tell me where does it go? Yeah.
This all goes to RBI, correct? And they use it for improving the infrastructure, as well as, I guess, for investor education and all those things.
Yes, it actually goes to the country where that institution is situated, where that institution is penalized, and that country has to use those funds for, like you rightly said, for the education, for developing procedures, for research purposes, whatever, for anti-money laundering laws. So these are huge amounts which are penalized. Penalties are imposed on banks for non-compliances. Indian regulators, like they have also, like from the previous list, this list, you can say these are all international bodies. Here I have given you what Indian regulators have imposed fines. There was an incident in June 2024. There is an international crypto exchange, Binance. I think Binance it is pronounced. So it was imposed a penalty of $2.16 million, 18.82 crores by FIUIND. You know, these crypto exchanges, like when I was preparing this, I I wanted to know who is regulating these crypto exchanges. So it is surprising that crypto exchanges are not regulated by anybody in our country. Only thing is they have to register themselves with FIU IND. And this international exchange, it is supposed to be the biggest international crypto exchange. They had failed to register themselves with FIU IND. For that reason, they were penalized this 18.82 crores in June. And also, obviously, they failed to monitor, record, and report the suspicious transactions because they were never registered with FIU IND. And in fact, they paid the penalty, and in August, they again started their business in India. And the same organization was also penalized by Canada's anti-money laundering agency. Another crypto exchange, I believe, virtual digital asset service provider is eBit Fintech Limited. They were also imposed this penalty of 9.27 crores by FIU in India for again violations under PMLA. Now, India became a full-fledged member only in 2010. But you know that we already had this PML guidelines of 2002. So 2002 guidelines were already existing and we became full-fledged member in 2010, further strengthening our AML framework. So now we have tightened KYC norms, in banks, NBFCs and fintech companies. Greater scrutiny of Hawala transactions and offshore shell companies. Offshore shell companies, I think, since you are all dealing in finance, I believe, so you must be coming across these accounts a lot. Because when you are financing businesses, you will often find these shell companies in their balance sheets. In 2023, in fact, FATF has placed, they have given a satisfactory reporting to India, but they have placed increased scrutiny on India's cryptocurrency exchanges, and they are pushing for even stricter regulations. In 2023 November, also RBI had fined HSBC around rupees 5 crores for outsourcing reviews of AML alerts to a group company. You can see the importance which is being placed by our regulators on this AML guidelines. So, like as a banker, it is our utmost responsibility to follow the guidelines, especially KYC, AML guidelines, because one lapse on our part can result in lot of misery and happenings all over the world. In fact, in our country only, we often face this fraudulent money is parked in some accounts. Like the accounts are opened in some names and then the money comes into those accounts which are money which is fraudulently obtained. Nowadays, lot of frauds are happening. Video, what do you call that? Video arrest, something. So where does that money go? Like obviously it is going through banking channels somewhere. So we have to be very careful when we are opening new accounts. The guidelines are followed, but not just opening the transactions also. Also, Bank of Baroda was imposed a penalty of 5 crores when they had some forex related irregularities. But whenever any fraud happens, RBI will always find somewhere that you have also not followed the anti-money laundering provisions because the guidelines are so stringent. So our control mechanisms have to be strong and we have to follow the mechanisms which are established by our banks. Because if we are not following, then bank is suffering. Obviously, we will also suffer, but bank suffers and the country suffers. Everyone knows about Paytm Payments Bank. It was asked to close down its operations. This was also due to AML violations. So they were imposed fines as well as told to close the operations. What happened exactly? Because the Paytm payment banks, they failed in establishing the beneficial ownership, and suspicious transaction monitoring was not done, and due diligence was not done. And it is said that some gambling money was illegally transferred through their bank. So these illegal operations and crime proceeds were routed, and the bank was asked to shut down operations. Further, RBI imposed monetary penalties on other banks of our country, Dhanlaxmi Bank, HDFC Bank, and I think on your bank also in May 2025. Recently, I think 2 days back only this news has come, Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, for lack of regulatory compliance. So these regulatory compliance, all the guidelines, they are very important for us to be followed. Many times it happens that, customers come to our branch and they will deposit, like we say, what is the amount we can deposit in cash without the PAN card? 50,000 rupees. Yes?
Correct, ma'am.
So what they'll do is 49,900. 49,900 on various dates. But then ultimately, what is it? It is a suspicious, because there is another guideline that over the year, how much can be deposited in cash in an account. But still, even if the 10 lakhs is not breached, still when you are depositing these amounts, small amounts, it leads to suspicion. And many a times banks report it as a suspicious activity to FIU IND. Now, the Banking Secrecy Act I had briefly mentioned in the first slide. It was enacted, and what were the requirements of this act in USA? You can see it was back in 1970s. We are also doing all these things now. Currency transaction reports. Any cash deposit or withdrawal over $10,000 was to be reported to authorities. Or suspicious activity reports, like I said, the depositing any unusual financial transactions. Even if below the reporting threshold, it must be flagged and investigated. Many times you find that party is maintaining account with you, any individual is maintaining account with you, wherein very small transactions are happening, and one fine day a huge amount comes. The next day another, then it becomes a suspicious transaction. Customer identification program. This was also their one of the requirements, that banks must identify the identity of customers before allowing them. What were we doing? We were just taking introduction from our existing customers when we would open the account in the early days. Now, after the 9/11 Act, when the Patriot Act was passed, then they expanded the AML laws, anti-money laundering laws, to contain this terrorism financing also. They made it more stringent, enhanced requirements, and they allowed authorities to track and freeze assets linked to terrorism, and also increased penalties. And now these laws, when US implemented these laws, obviously it affected global banking, because many banks, including our banks, Indian banks, they have branches in the US, and they must comply with these guidelines. I think in 2014, SBI was fined by US for not following the BSA guidelines. So they are very stringent, and bankers, we have to fall in line and ensure that the guidelines are followed. Indian banks conducting US dollar transactions must follow strict AML guidelines. Failure to comply leads to heavy fines and obviously sanctions. And Indian citizens with US accounts must ensure that their transactions are properly documented. My daughter is in US and she is very particular about what she transacts in her account, even in India. What is there, what is happening in her account. It is a very serious issue when you have accounts with in US. UK's now we are moving to, we have because this presentation is about the world over. So from US now we are moving to the UK's regulations. In UK also the regulations are very stringent and they are enhanced due diligence for high risk customers, including politically exposed persons. You know that even in our country, we have this list who will be in low risk, who will be in medium risk, and who will be in the high risk. When we open the account, we have to give that designation. So politically exposed persons are basically any person, like is any person who is related to the political person. Also, strict reporting of suspicious transactions under POCA, that is Proceeds of Crime Act. Regulation of cryptocurrency. Now we are moving into crypto. Till now we have not talked about crypto. Regulation of cryptocurrency transactions to prevent digital money laundering. You know, nowadays everything is digital and this is the way forward. Tough penalties for financial institutions that fail to monitor and report money laundering activities. So these are the UK's anti-money laundering regulations, and they are obviously they are guiding force for other countries. Implementation of risk-based approaches. We also follow this to ensure businesses allocate more resources to high-risk transactions. Now in UK, many Indian businesses, they operate in UK and they have to comply with the guidelines. There are exporters, importers, we have our branches there. NRIs are investing in UK properties. They have to prove the legitimacy of their funds, from where the funds have been created through detailed financial documentation. Fintech startups expanding to UK, they also must ensure that they follow the specific digital payment compliance norms. Now, if they don't follow, obviously, it will result in heavy fines, freezing their accounts, and also on many restrictions. Like this, I have already discussed that if they deposit small amount, it does not mean they'll go unnoticed. In 2021, subsequently, the US has enacted another act, which is the Anti-Money Laundering Act 2020. This further strengthens the Banking Secrecy Act by addressing the money laundering threats posed by shell companies and emerging technologies such as cryptocurrencies. So, cryptocurrencies, like you know, many of you are all young people, and I don't know, you also might have invested money in these cryptocurrencies. We of our generation, very frankly speaking, we don't understand cryptocurrencies, but they have to be tackled, and the various acts are being now enacted, like US has enacted this act. Beneficial ownership disclosure requirements for US firms to prevent money launderers from using shell companies to disguise their identities. New compliance obligations for cryptocurrencies, bringing these wallets and exchange service providers under the scope of BSE's existing AML and PFT legislation. This is abhi India mein. This I think they are planning to bring this bill, but this bill has not yet come. Also, increased penalties for money laundering, for compliance violations, particularly involving PEPs. So you can see that world over, the act is being made more and more stringent. And despite this stringent laws, strong regulations, European Union, they face lot of challenges in enforcement of these laws. The reason being, European Union consists of different countries and different countries interpret the AML rules differently. So it leads to problems. Also, the technology is changing so fast. It is not just EU everywhere. It is making enforcement very difficult. Cyber fraud and crypto-related laundering. This also requires constant updates for AML regulations. They have to also change accordingly, keep on evolving. Now, in EU, European Union, they are working on a centralized AML authority to improve coordination and enforcement across their member nations. In Asia Pacific, India, Singapore, China, we are also very hotbed of financial criminals. Lot of people are defrauding people sitting in US, like they are sitting in India and defrauding over there. So it is a battlefield for AML regulators who are trying to stay ahead of these sophisticated financial criminals. Now in India, we have the regulations. CMLA, you all know, 2002, it is the backbone of India's AML framework. And it empowers authorities to seize illegal assets. KYC and AML guidelines जो बैंक को follow करनी है, NBFCs को follow करनी है to prevent financial fraud. And FIU, like I said earlier, FIU India, it monitors suspicious transactions and reports them to law enforcement agencies. As of 2023, India has tightened scrutiny over crypto exchanges, but still it is not regulated. Like I said, I checked today also, it is not regulated, but yes, SEBI regulates some part of the securities which are being exchanged over there. In India, actually the money laundering, you can say the black money, because our economy is cash intensive. Lot of transactions still take place in cash. So it makes it easier that, the black money floats around and it is difficult to capture it. Then Hawala networks are also rampant in our country. And lot of money, actually terrorism money, can also be transferred through these Hawala networks. Election funds misuse, you're all aware, unaccounted political funding. That is also a source of using destination for illegal monies. In Singapore, we all know that it is a very strict country. They have strict penalties. They have very strict laws for any crimes. Similarly, for AML also, they have strict penalties and they have this act, Corruption, Drug Trafficking and Other Serious Crimes Act, 1992. So it criminalizes money laundering and imposes heavy penalties. They have Monetary Authority of Singapore AML guidelines, which requires banks and FIs to conduct enhanced due diligence on high-risk customers. They have cryptocurrency regulations, which prevents anonymous illicit financing. So they have these strict guidelines and they have a very strong regulatory enforcement network. Banks must report suspicious transactions promptly. We also have those guidelines and we do that, but sometimes it does not happen. Financial stability and global partnerships, they also collaborate with international agencies and also AI-empowered AML solutions. They lead in the use of AI and data analytics for fraud detection. So this is Singapore, which is way ahead in containing the money laundering activities. Now the world over, we are doing this, but the criminals are also very strong. They are also using the technology. They are also evolving, making new ideas how to launder money, how to create dirty money. You know that nowadays, like I earlier also said, that what is that? In our country, we are facing this virtual arrest frauds nowadays, which are happening with senior citizens all over our countries. So that money is obviously it is illegal money and it is being used by criminals through, it is being taken out through banking channels only. So we have to keep pace with criminals who are constantly evolving their tactics, and it is for the technology and the countries to enforcement of new policies which will help in containing the money laundering activities. Artificial intelligence, now it is a double-edged sword. It will be used by criminals also, and it will be used by the law enforcement agencies also. So, but we have to stay one step ahead, and for that, the bankers, the employees of organizations, they have to be very alert. Of course, I think the technology, AI, is also helping a lot in detecting such suspicious activity. Monitor transactions in real time, that is one thing. To spot unusual activity instantly, that can only be done with AI, because humanly it is not possible to monitor all transactions all the time. Only AI can help us do that. Use predictive analytics to identify new laundering techniques before they become trends. This is a challenge. Reduce false positives by distinguishing real threats from innocent customers. Because many a times customer might be doing something which is very legal and which is not at all generating black money or money laundering. Still, we might start having a suspicion on him. So we have to reduce that also. Adapt dynamically to new threats, making traditional rule-based monitoring obsolete. Obviously, that is the technology, the threats which are coming from technology. Now banks, traditional banks are left behind. You are also in Axis Bank Finance. You are an NBFC. Now we have even more, the banking has further become more complicated, or maybe you can say it has become more simplified by advent of these fintech companies and the neobanks. So the fraudsters, they know that the traditional banks are very heavily regulated. They are reporting everything, they are watching everything. So they are moving to the fintechs and neobanks. So these fintech companies, they also have to follow the guidelines, the KYC norm, so that their channels are not used for these purposes. So regulators are tightening KYC norms for online banking and payment apps. And the fintech startups must now integrate AI-powered AML tools. Now, AI-powered AML tools to detect fraud and illicit fund movements. The funds which are moving through their channels are not fraudulent. Of course, biometric verification and these analytics, they are becoming the new standard for onboarding customers. Like in my time, this was not there, but I see that now biometric verification is being done for all purposes. You are all aware about these neobanks. What are these neobanks? Yes? Anybody knows?
Not sure, ma'am, if you can guide us on or let us know what that.
I am just inquiring out of curiosity because for me also I found this a new term, neobanks. This is actually, these are banks which have no physical existence. These banks are only digital banks. They are like, I'll give you an example. Like SBI YONO. This is a digital platform. It is a neobank, they said, because I am familiar with SBI YONO, so I remember that. But there are many more neobanks which are there, and they are not directly regulated by RBI. So see, you can see this is again an area where the money laundering can happen. But RBI monitors these banks indirectly because these neo banks are somewhere uh, they are attached to, they are governed by a proper bank. So RBI is governing that bank, and through that bank they are looking into the working of these neo banks also. But the RBI is not directly monitoring these neo banks like this Razor Pay X. This is a new bank like that. So these new entities are coming up which are not even regulated, and then the money laundering becomes the monitoring of that is becoming more and more complicated and difficult. Like we know that cross-border also we have to collaborate with other nations to combat this money laundering. So increased data sharing between countries, stronger international blacklists to prevent money laundering through offshore accounts. I think every bank, they have a list of customers. We used to receive those lists, blacklists. Unified compliance net frameworks for global AML standards. Like there is a case where in 2023, an international crackdown on drug cartel, it involved cooperation between three countries, US, India, and UAE. So it has to be international collaboration if we want to stop the, or rather contain the money laundering activities. Like I said, cryptocurrencies, these are the new, way of finance, cryptocurrencies and digital assets. Now, these are also increasingly being used in businesses. So, for them, again, AML measures need to be introduced. Like we had discussed earlier, in US and UK, these measures are already implemented. Cryptocurrencies exchanges and wallets. Now, many countries, they require crypto platforms to follow strict KYC and norms and transactions monitoring. Decentralized finance. Now, unlike traditional banks, DeFi platforms operate without intermediaries. making AML enforcement a challenge. I think you being in Axis Bank Finance, आपको कभी कोई डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड फाइनेंस का आइडिया होगा कि हाउ दे ऑपरेट. अगेन देयर making it enforcing it is a big challenge. NFT based laundering scheme. NFT is a non-fungible token which is in cryptocurrencies it is used. The criminal use these NFTs to transfer illegal funds under the guise of digital art sales. So lot of new things, the criminals are getting into new areas and they are trying to transfer money through these areas. So NFT, like I said, it is a unique digital asset that represents ownership of a particular item such as digital art, music, or even real estate. Unlike cryptocurrencies, which are fungible, meaning it can be exchanged for another of same value, NFTs are unique and non-interchangeable. So these are also being used for money laundering. Now moving forward, you can see that as the technology is changing, AML is also becoming more complicated, more stringent, and we have to be more alert. Criminals are using these digital platforms. It is AI versus AI. We have to also use artificial intelligence to combat or to face these criminals. Global digital ID systems, some countries are considering to streamline the AML compliance, and it is a technology race finally. And the criminals are evolving, they are adapting fast, they are making use of young people and young minds. Regulators also need to accordingly adapt and even be a step ahead. AI, crypto monitoring, and cross-border cooperation will define the next era of AML enforcement. All these things are happening. Technology is being used, yet, even as bankers, our bank accounts, somewhere, somehow, they are also always involved. So even if we are vigilant, like in our bank accounts, I think somewhere we can always make a difference in containing the money laundering activities. So while technology aids compliance, our vigilance, human vigilance remains irreplaceable, and we can fight against the financial crimes. So friends, this was from me about the global regulations in anti-money laundering.